Hi everyone, I hope the audio and video quality is good. Sorry for the delay, my system got just updated. Cool. Maybe let's wait a few seconds and we can get started. If the audio or video quality is bad, just message me, I will change my settings. Otherwise, we can get started. Thanks, Tim. Cool. So, in today's session, we are going to learn prompt engineering, especially focusing on Anthropic models. Maybe give me a second. I will open one more thing. Okay. So this is the presentation I did last 2 weeks ago with Brisbane Meetup. So if you see this one, currently Anthropic Claude 3 that wins in all the different metrics for evaluating large language models. So you can see different results like Gemini 1 Pro, Ultra, GPT-4, GPT 3.5, how Claude 3 Opus is behaving. So currently Claude is one of the best model. It's really nice. I use Claude 3 Opus a lot. I also use Gemini 1.5, which is not here yet. Also, I use GPT-4 from OpenAI. So currently, I use three models. One is GPT-4, Claude 3 Opus, and Gemini 1.5. For most of the tasks, like very heavy coding tasks, things like that, I try to use these three to see how it's behaving. Most of the time, I prefer the solution from Claude 3 Opus because it's very accurate. Also, it won't cut short. It will try to finish the task we are asking it to do. Like if you ask it to write some code, it writes full code really well. Sometimes GPT-4, it like uh, assume this function is available, things like that. But Claude 3, it's not lazy. It answers really well. So I prefer Claude 3 Opus model. So what we are going to do today is we will try to understand how Claude 3 Anthropic's prompt engineering is done. So they have some set of best practices. We are going to learn how to use these best practices ourselves. So we will learn one by one. But before that, I will show you a quick project that we did like last time. And we can use this project as a base. And then we can use these techniques and improve that little bit. Okay, so let's get started. So you don't have to code along with me. I will share the notebook with you all. I think I already shared the same notebook in the channel. So if you see some of our past messages, okay, it should be somewhere here. Maybe I will reshare. Okay, I think this is the one. Cool. Yeah, this is the code. This is the code we are going to use today. I will reshare one more time. Cool. So you don't have to code along with me. You can just watch what I'm doing and learn from it. You can ask questions anytime. Mostly, I will try to see our Slack messages. I also see some of the comments on YouTube. I think I'll try to monitor both. You can ask questions anywhere like Slack or YouTube. Both should be fine. But if it's on Slack, I will get some notifications so that I can answer immediately. Cool. So let's get started. So we are going to use Anthropic model. The project we are going to do is analyzing stock data. For example, let's say you are planning to buy Microsoft stock, maybe today or tomorrow. What we usually do is we try to see how the trend is going you can see this is like it dropped suddenly, um, last 3 month trend. Then what you do is you also try to see how news behaving around Microsoft, like if they are releasing any new product or if they are going through any loss, things like that. So in this project, what we are doing is we are collecting last 3 month stock information. Then we are also collecting recent news about Microsoft. For example, today's news, like is there any topic going on around Microsoft? We will collect those information. Then we pass both the information to the model, like Anthropic Claude 3 Opus model. Then see what the model says about the stock predictions. Okay, that's the goal. So let's do it. But the focus today is not doing it functionally, focusing more on improving the prompt. So currently the prompt is very basic. So you are an expert stock market analyst, and this is the prompt I have written: analyze the stock graph and news article to provide summary of the stock performance. For the stock name, news prompt, also predict your own stock. Well, this is the prompt, but I feel like we can improve this prompt a lot. We will read each best practices and we will improve it. Cool. Okay. Maybe before going through the prompt engineering, I will quickly run through the code in very high level. You don't have to understand everything in depth. And also the goal is not replicate everything on your side yet. You can do it after the session. Since the video is on YouTube, you can pause and watch anytime and do it. Cool. So let me upgrade my Anthropic. I'm zooming a little bit. Okay. So currently I'm upgrading my Anthropic. So last time it was 25.7, now it's 25.8. Cool. Then, so I'm getting my Anthropic API key. So in the last few lessons, we covered how to get the key. You can just Google Anthropic Claude 3 key. You will get some key. So currently they provide like $5 free quota for every month. So Tim is asking which IDE I'm using. So this looks like Visual Studio Code. I also have Visual Studio Code. This is here. So can you see this one? Visual Studio Code. If I open Visual Studio Code, they also look very similar to this one. But this IDE is called Cursor. Cursor is like AI focused editor. Okay. Let me show you this one. So this is my Visual Studio Code. So this Visual Studio Code is also very similar to Cursor, but I'm using Cursor. AI first code editor. We can use like OpenAI API key or Anthropic key, or also they have like $20 per month subscription. With that, we can get unlimited GPT-4 uses, unlimited GPT 3.5, and 10 Cloud Opus uses every day. Like it has a lot of benefits. For me, it saves tons of time. Let's say maybe what I can do is, so let's say this, I have written some code. I want to modify the code. I can do it quickly. For example, let's copy this, put it here. I want to write some test case for this function. What I can do is just copy, Control K. Then we can ask some questions like write test case or write documentations and test case. So you can see it has written some documentations. And after the code, it's writing some test case. Cool. And then if I'm happy with these changes, I can accept. Otherwise, I can reject and go on. So currently, I'm going to reject because I don't want right now. Then cancel it. So this is like inline code editing, and they also have another thing called chat. To do that, Command L, and you can see some chat windows here. And here you can choose some model. Let's say I'm choosing Haiku model. And let's say I don't understand how this code work. Copy, explain this code. Then it reads the current file and it explains everything clearly, like what this function does, things like that. Maybe let's say I don't know what time delta mean. I can ask follow-up questions like, what is time delta? Then it reads this file and see the context, and it explains what time delta does. And they also give some code. You can also copy the code and paste it here and run it. Otherwise, you can also click run as cell. Then it automatically moved here. Then it automatically runs and you can see some output. So currently, I'm using Cursor for most of my personal projects and learning things like that. I use Cursor a lot. Let me delete. Okay. So let's run this. Okay. So I have written a function get stock data. To use get stock data, I'm using a library called Yahoo Finance. So Yahoo Finance, you can pass some stock code and you can get all the data downloaded. You can provide start date, end date. Then you will get all the stock data for the stock code. So let's run this. So we have written two functions, get stock code and plot and save stock graph. I used this Cursor to write this code. I didn't write this code myself. I just prompted everything and I got this output. And it worked. So you can see when we were running this code a few weeks ago, the stock got down, but now it's improving. It's good. Cool. So we collected the data. Then the second thing we need is current news. So let's try to get some current news. To get some current live news about Microsoft, you can use this library, DuckDuckGo search. To use this library, you can install using pip install DuckDuckGo search. So let's run this. If you run this, you will see the library get installed. Once it's done, you can import ddgs DuckDuckGo search from this library module we installed. Then this ddgs, which is this one, has news. So normally news means the data is very fresh. They also have different modules, but currently we are only using news because we need recent news about Microsoft. So here my keyword is Microsoft news. Let's run this. Okay, I got some news. Let's print it. Okay, so these are the news that happened today. Like if you see the date, mostly like all the news are like today, 7. I think this is United States time zone. So that's why it's yesterday mostly. In Australia, it's 7. So it's 6 and 7. Very fresh news. So let's plot the news. So these are the news. Microsoft partnering with OpenAI was basically a bet, says CTO Kevin Scott. And few other news. So they launched a AI chatbot for spies. Okay, like they are doing something for US spies. So these are some of the news happening. New Microsoft AI model may challenge GPT-4 and Google Gemini. So Microsoft AI is building a new model that might challenge GPT-4 from OpenAI and Google Gemini models. So Mustafa was hired recently by Microsoft. They are doing some great work. Cool. Then what I did is, this is my prompt. In my prompt, news prompt, analyze the following stock news for some stock name, which is Microsoft. And I provided, I provided all the, let me close this. I provided all the details about the news, like date, what's the news title, and what's the source of the news, and body of the news, like message. So let's run this, and the news prompt looks like this. Then we are using the Microsoft stock graph. For Anthropic models, we need to convert everything to uh, everything to string. To convert everything to string, we have to use this library, base64. So use base64, we can encode the image and then decode to UTF-8 string. Then the output looks like this one. So this is how the output looks like. Then this is my message, client.messages.create. The important things here are, we need to mention the model name, which is I'm using Opus. Then we have to mention the max tokens. Currently it supports like 4K token. Here I'm just using 1000 tokens. Then add some system message. Then in the prompt, we need few things. One is image data and then text. The text has all the news, like comes from news prompt. Then image data has image string. Then let's run this. So it takes like few seconds because this is a very big model, Opus. So if you are doing the same with Haiku, it could be faster. So I'm seeing some messages on YouTube, but I can't comment straight away. Okay, still running. Cool. So we got some output. Let's print the output. Okay, so based on the stock price graph, Microsoft stock has been significantly volatility for the past 3 months. The price has fluctuated between 390 to 430 with several sharp drops and recoveries. Cool. Then the recent news, there are few news happened. The model thinks that's very important. And considering these factors, I predict Microsoft stock price for the next 3 days as follows. On this day, it could be like 405 to 410. The mixed news may lead to significant slight fluctuations, but the stock could see a modest increase due to companies' AI developments. Then, if investors react positively to Microsoft AI advancements and the potential of MAI1 model, the stock price may continue to rise. So, this is how human think. Model also thinks very similar. The stock may stabilize or see a slight dip as the market digests the news and assess the long-term impact of studio closures and AI investments. Cool. So this is the outlook for Microsoft. So this is what we learned last week, like 2 weeks ago. Then we try to do the same thing with function calling, but I'm not going to do function calling teaching now because today's goal is to improve the prompt using prompt engineering best practices. So let's do that. Cool. Okay. So let me share this one too. Actually, I read a few things from OpenAI, Google Gemini, but I like how documentation is done with Anthropic. They are very helpful. Uh, they provide like clear directions, a lot of materials, things to learn, things like that. It's very helpful. Cool. Okay. So prompt engineering means prompt is like input to the model and response is like an output to the model. So let's say you have some private document and you want to ask some questions using the document. Let's say the private document is about your company's last financial year performance. And the question you are going to ask is, what was the profit for my company? Things like that. So for this question, if you ask Claude or any model, they don't know about your company private data. So what you can do is you can use like RAG, which means retrieval augmented generation. With RAG, let's say your question is, what's the company's performance like last quarter in profit. Then we convert this question to some long numbers, which is embedding. Then we try to find what are the embedding chunks that matches your question. Then we collect some relevant information. Then we pass all the relevant information to the model as a prompt. Then the model uses those prompt and answers. So prompt engineering means it's like a lot of input text to the model. Maybe the text comes directly from you, or it could be come something as context from relevant sources. So in our use case, we used few information as a prompt. One information is image data. Another information is all the stock market news. And also we also had some our own prompt like analyze the stock graph and the news article to provide a summary. So this is our own prompt. Cool. So you can read this later, but let's go through this one by one. Be clear and direct. So provide detailed context and instructions. So please remove all personally identifiable information, which is really important. User, we want to anonymize some. Okay, so this is the prompt. So this is the, let's say you are working for maybe your company, but you don't want all the personal information in the data, like you want to automatically remove. So your text could contain some name, email, and contact information. But this is the prompt. Please remove all personally identifiable information from this text. So this is how most of us, we write some prompt. But Anthropic suggests writing some clearly and direct prompt is helpful, like something like this. We want to anonymize some text by removing all personally identifiable information. Please follow these steps. Replace all instances of names, phone numbers, and home and email addresses with XSX. Then if the text contains no personally identifiable information, copy it word for word without replacing anything, which is important. Output only the processed text without any additional commentary. So sometimes if you don't add these things, the model will slightly change the output. Like if there is any typo, it might fix it, things like that. If you don't want to do that, you can gives them clear and direct instructions like this. Then here is the text to process, and you pass the text. And they also have something like a lot of other things. Use numbered list or bullet points. So these are like instructions. And this is XML tags. We will learn that in this fourth point. So be specific about what you want. Cool. So you can read this. This is super helpful. Then use examples. So when you don't use any example, that means that's called zero shot prompting. If you provide one example, that's called one shot prompting. You can read it here. And if you provide a few examples, we call this as few shot prompting. So sometimes we are expecting some particular results. We can provide Anthropic or any model with some examples, like how the model should respond. That helps the model a lot. It knows what you're expecting, then it will deliver exactly as it is. Here they focus more on relevance, diversity, and clarity, quantity. This is very helpful. So sometimes I do this, like let's say I'm working on some very different use case. I want to behave the model in some certain way. Like let's say I don't want it to write more than 20 words. I might provide some example like one-liner, things like that. Cool. Then give Claude a role. So we have done this one. Like my role is you are an expert stock market analyst. We are giving Claude some role. Claude is a highly capable AI assistant, but sometimes it benefits from having additional context to understand the role it should play in a given conversation. By assigning a role to Claude, you can prime it to respond in a specific way, improve its accuracy and performance, and tailor its tone and demeanor to match the desired context. This technique is also known as role prompting. So I do this all the time. Let's say I'm working on some complex data science problem. I say something like, "You're an expert data scientist," things like that. And it helps. So you can also read more. Then use XML tags. So this is very specific to Anthropic. Anthropic model, they suggest using tags. So tags looks like open bracket, like less than bracket, something, and then closing bracket, then close it like this. So tags define what part is what. So sometimes you provide some news, and sometimes you provide some examples. Sometimes you provide some way to behave. So you can provide everything in tags. So you can see here. Please analyze the document and write a detailed summary memo according to the instructions below, following the format given in the example. Then this is the document. So to show the document, they are using lesson bracket as a document, and instructions are here. Then some examples are here. Cool. I think we can use this and improve our prompt. You can say something like instructions. Then after finishing the instruction, you can say news. Then after news, like for example, this shoot looks like this. News. Then close the news. Then you can say some instructions. Close the instructions. Okay. Cool. Also, you can do the same in one of our previous prompt, date, title, source, article, etc. Cool. So I'm not doing straight away, but you can do it. Let's rerun. Cool. So let's go to the other one, chain prompts. You can think of working with large language models like juggling. The more tasks you have a Claude handle in a single prompt, the more liable it is to drop something or perform any single task less well. Thus, for complex tasks that require multiple steps or subtasks, we recommend breaking those tasks down into subtasks and chaining prompts to ensure highest quality performance at every step. So, what they are saying is, uh, let's say in this case, we are providing the news and we are providing image data. Then we are asking Claude to think about the news and stock graph and predict the outcome. So one way to do that is, instead of putting everything together, you can use a single prompt, and in that prompt you can only pass the image data and ask the prompt to extract some useful information like the trend, seasonality, or any indicators. Like there are a lot of indicators for stock, we can extract those information. Then in the second prompt, you can chain the previous results and pass those information like this. Then the model will perform better. So you can give it a try. Then let Claude think. So this is also a lot of people use this, very important one. When faced with a complex question or task, it's often beneficial to let Claude think through the problem step by step before providing a final answer. This technique, also known as chain of thought prompting, it can significantly improve the accuracy and nuance of Claude response. So this is like simply adding things step by step, or both these directors of Jaws and Casino Royale from same country, think step by step. Then it will add more tokens and it will eventually get good answers. To make it easier to separate Claude step by step, consider using XML tags like thinking answer. You can instruct Claude to place its thought process inside thinking and its ultimate answer within answer. This is also helpful. Cool. So they also have prompt library, which is super helpful. Let's say you're working on some particular project. Maybe try to search prompt here. Maybe let's say stock, something about stock price. So currently they don't have anything on stock. Maybe let's say okay, second grade simplifier, and you can see what prompt they are using. Your task is to take the text provided and rewrite it in a way that is easy for young learners in grade 3 to 5 to read and understand. Simplify advanced vocabulary, break down long sentences, explain difficult concepts in plain language, and present the information in a clear and engaging way. So this is the prompt, and they provided some example text. So you can get some idea like how different people use prompts. This prompt library is helpful too. They have few examples. Okay. So this is a good one, pre-filled Claude response. So let's say sometimes we want Claude to output in some certain way. For example, the output could be like JSON. To output JSON format, we can pre-fill how it should start. So currently we have pre-filling as opening bracket. Then the prompt will use this as an input and it will generate the rest from here. See, this is open bracket. Then this is the output we are getting. See, role user, content, some content, and role assistant. Here the content is open bracket, which means the prompt will use these information and generate output by pre-filling from here. Like it uses the open bracket, then it will add the rest. So this is an easy way to get some JSON output. Maybe I also shared this one. Okay, messages API with JSON mode. So if you can also go through this one. So here I used how I used the pre-filling. So this is the pre-fill I did. Here is the JSON requested. Then I started with this bracket. Then this is the model output. The model outputs in JSON, not like a proper text, which is helpful for me so that I can parse this as a normal JSON and I can do some other things. Cool. You can learn more here. Okay. So this is, we just saw control output format, JSON mode. Claude is highly capable of producing output in a wide variety of formats by providing clear instructions, examples, and pre-fill response. So this is very similar to what we did in JSON format. We can also say things like, please write a haiku about a cat. Use JSON format with keys, first line, second line, and third line, and this is the model response. Also, we can pre-fill by ensuring it will always outputs the rest by taking this as an input. Then if you are sometimes if you are unhappy, if you are not happy with some results, you can ask it to rewrite. Like maybe you develop your own prompt and pass the prompt to the model and ask it to rewrite the prompt better. I think they also have some helper meta prompt, which does exactly the same. Like what I said, you write some basic prompt, the meta helper, meta prompt, they improve the prompt. So you have to install Anthropic and you have to pass your Anthropic key. Then you can play with it. So this is quite helpful. So this is very simple. You just paste some task or any prompt, then rerun everything top to bottom. You will get some improved prompt. So long context window tips. So Claude's extended context window is 200,000. It enables it to handle complex tasks that require processing large amounts of information. Claude's extended context window also enables you to simplify workflows that previously required splitting inputs to fit within shorter context windows. By combining inputs into a single prompt, you can streamline your process and take full advantage of Claude capabilities. For example, if your previous application required splitting a long document into multiple parts and processing each part separately, you can now provide the entire document to Claude in single prompt. This not only simplifies your code, but also allowed Claude to have more comprehensive understanding. I think the key message here is Claude has 200,000 uh, window. We can pass large volume of information and we can get some response. For example, I used this. Maybe I'll show you this project. So this project, book recommendations, interesting advices, key lessons, and career tips from Stephen Bartlett's Diary of CEO podcast. So each podcast is like 2 hour or more than 2 hour content. So you can see it here. And what I did is I extracted all the content. Then I paused the data one by one. Then I used Claude model to provide some output. So this is my prompt. So you can see I have used some best practices like XML tags, some clear bullet point instructions, things like that. And this is the model output. So for each video, I'm getting some output. Is this helpful? Okay, I think we are pretty much done. Let me quickly go through this one. Hi Arun, from your experience, does Claude perform better if you provide full instruction in a single request versus conversing it? Scenario 1, please perform X, do Y as well, include Z. Okay, so in my experience, Claude is really capable of handling complex tasks, like multiple tasks in a single message. But if I really want to make sure and get 100% like great accuracy, I try to split it. For example, in this one, I didn't split everything together because it's like going to add some more cost. Let's say I need book recommendations, then some key lessons, then personal anecdotes. So if I'm not worried about money, maybe if I'm not worried about the money and time, I might write a single prompt for each and then let the Claude model to focus on one specific thing. Since that will add on some cost, I added lots of tasks in a single message. So it depends on the use case. If the use case is really important for yourself or company, you can split it. Otherwise, you can put a few tasks in a single prompt. And especially if you are using models like Opus, it's okay to put a lot of complex tasks in a single prompt. The model will output and does the job really well. But if you are using some basic model like Haiku and other models, you can split the task into few. I hope it helps. I think I'm pretty much done. It's a short and neat session. I shared lots of things like, first of all, you got this notebook, you can play with it, and you can also go through the prompt engineering yourself. Maybe try to incorporate one technique or two techniques in your prompt and see how well the performance changes. And also, I shared some prompt library. You can also go through this one and try to know more. I hope it helps. See you all next week. Thanks, everyone.